My guest this week has appeared in 43 majors. He's a 4-time winner on the PGA Tour and a 3-time winner on the Champions Tour. Billy Andrade is a shining example of how to be a high achiever in a specialized and competitive sport without compromising one's human qualities. His impact on the sport is significant and measurable, but it is his endearing personality that attracts and wins the day for the benefit of us all. Billy, welcome to Great Dane Nation, and good morning and all those good things, and happy, I guess, COVID time, man. What can I say? We're doing okay, it sounds like, looks like. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great, and honored, Morten, to have you call me and want me to be on your show. I remember we played golf not too long ago, and you were telling me about this new podcast and what you were doing, and to have all these great Hall of Famers on in the football world, and now you having just this little old golfer from Rhode Island on with you. I'm pretty honored. So,
well, you played golf, Billy. I was looking for my ball. I was basically, I was Army golf. That's me, left, right, and it was amazing to play. It's one thing to play with your buddies, okay, and just
right
go out there and hack it around for 18 holes and then have a couple of cold ones afterwards. It's a whole different vibe, and this is now from my viewpoint, whole different vibe. Even though it wasn't a serious round at all, it was fun, and whole different vibe for me to play with you, a guy who's accomplished, who's played at the highest levels in the greatest tournaments and majors. There's something about, I don't know what it is, but you do get nervous. I mean, I got nervous even though I'm not really a nervous person, because I wanted to play well for you. It's weird. It's just a different vibe, because when you hit it, if you just mishit it a little bit, or even if you get in trouble, you can get out of trouble. I can't. And and the vibe was so cool, because I learned by observing. Like your demeanor is so relaxed. I know that wasn't the case all the time, because you played in like I said, in the highest level.
No, I watching not too long ago the TPC Players Championship was on, and Justin Thomas put on a show on that Sunday, and I was thinking of the times I played there. Love-hate relationship with Sawgrass, but a couple of years I had a chance to win, and thinking about that walk from 16 over to 17 and seeing that, island green that's just sitting there waiting for you, and the emotions and the nervousness. Every golfer has it. Every golfer, I think Jack Nicklaus had a great line years and years ago that said, if you weren't nervous when you got on the first tee to play a golf tournament, then maybe you're in the wrong profession. You have to have those nerves and stuff. But over the years, I've learned to be a little more relaxed with it and have fun with it. I think that's every player has to figure out who they are as far as how to play at the highest level in whatever sport you are, and get that routine down. And once you do that, then you can have a lot of success. And some guys, they just can't, they get too nervous and they just can't perform at the highest level. Some guys are just talented and they get there. But, the bottom line is it's such a great game. I enjoy playing with you. Anytime I play in a Pro-Am and I see a guy who's nervous or a woman who's nervous, I'll say, hey, I just want to tell you something. I don't give a crap how you play. I just want you to have fun and just enjoy yourself, because I really don't care at all your performance. I just want to have fun with you and have fun with whoever I'm playing with, and let's go out and enjoy 4 hours on a beautiful golf course like East Lake or wherever we're playing.
You were talking about performance angst, and before I get to it's Masters time, so I want to definitely touch on your Masters experiences. You played there 6 times, and I'm sure you got some thoughts on that. But you were talking about the performance angst. Is it the fact that the people that can do it well are able to transfer their game when they're standing on the range to the course? In other words, they're able to replicate. I talk about this all the time. high performing is all about replicating your dominant behavior, your positive behavior, and make it dominant, and kind of be able to push all your doubts and your negative vibes out, so that you're dominant, you're positive, that becomes prevalent. Is that accurate?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that there are times where maybe from the range you haven't hit it very well, and you're a little kind of worried about when you get to the tee, because you might not have it that day, and all of a sudden you hit that first drive and it's perfect, and then you just kind of go, and all of a sudden you have maybe some of your best ball striking rounds and best golf rounds. I've had some of my best rounds where I bogeyed the first hole. Remember playing at Pebble Beach in the Pebble Beach Pro-Am one year in the third round at Pebble. I bogeyed the first hole, and I went on to shoot 9 under 63. So it's you don't know, but the best players in golf, and probably the same as kicking or being a pitcher, is that you have the same routine all the time. So it doesn't matter if it's Thursday afternoon in the first round of the tournament, or it's Sunday afternoon in the final round and you're in the final group. If you do your routine and you just get into your own way, and you can't get over any shot and say, I'm going to hit a bad one here. You need to back away and start again. But there are going to be times, because the game is it's such a hard game, that you have to accept failure and accept bad shots. And if you do that, then you're going to be successful. I've always felt like the great Sandy Koufax had a great line about fearing failure. People who fear failure, they're the ones that are successful. It's the ones that can't accept failure when they fail, and then they get into a bad mindset, or they go down that rabbit hole and they can't get themselves out because of the fact that they're not accepting failure. But in baseball, you get 3 hits out of 10 and you're in the Hall of Fame.
That's incredible.
You fail. I would fail 7 times. It's like, and you're in the Hall of Fame. I mean, it's such a fine line, but it seems to me that the ones that are the best are the ones that accept it, and they just move on. And if you hit a bad shot, you go find it again. And I think the best players in golf also, Morten, are the ones that, that don't have it certain days, and then they add up their score and they still shoot 68, 69, and that's a day they didn't have it. In 2000, I played with Tiger Woods. It seemed like almost every tournament he played in the United States, the first 2 rounds, I got paired with him. And that was considered maybe the greatest year of golf as any golfer has ever had. He won 3 majors, and then he turns it around and wins 4 in a row, and he wins the Masters the next year. So I was there firsthand to see this greatness. And I kept his card a couple times where, after the round, I felt like, I got him. I think or at least tied him, and then I shoot 70 or 71, he shoots 69, 68, and he played terrible for him. And then the next day he'd come out, and all of a sudden he had it going, and, that's when he'd shoot 64, 63, 65, and then he'd dominate and win the golf tournament 2 days later, and I'd finish, 40th. No, but, it's just,
you make the cut. That's the key.
Yeah, it's just amazing, though. The great players that they're great, because when they don't have it on those certain days, they still manage the game, manage to get the ball in the hole, and they still shoot a good score, versus others, including myself at times, where you didn't have it, and you shoot 73 or 4, or you may miss the cut because of that day you didn't have it, versus shooting a 68 with not much.
So you mentioned that you played several rounds with Tiger, that's not a bad thing, by the way.
It was I'll tell you what, it was an adjustment for all the pros, because before him, you had Greg Norman was the number 1 player for a while, but we didn't have that rock star status where the crowd would come out and just follow that one group, which had Woods in the group. So the moving around, the minute he, finished putting out, everybody would run to the next tee. So it was kind of a circus atmosphere. And for the players playing with him, it took a little while for everybody to get used to it. So the first few tournaments I played with him, I didn't play very well, missed the cut. And then once I figured out, okay, this distraction is going to be around, there's nothing you can do about it. You got to be a pro and suck it up and figure it out. And that's when I started playing better towards the end of that run, when I played with him quite a bit. But if you look at all the final rounds where whoever he was playing, whoever he was, trying to run down or win a tournament, I think most of the pros that played in that final round with him shot 75, it seemed like, and Tiger would shoot 66 and win by a bunch. And he did that for a long, he was the most intimidating player to come out. I wasn't out with Jack, but I hear some of my brethren talk about Nicholas when he was out, and they would come out of college and then get paired with Jack, that the intimidation factor was enormous. And I saw that with Woods up close. Watson had a little bit of that as well, but I played a lot of practice rounds with Watson early in my career, so I got to know him personally. So the intimidating factor was there with Woods, and nobody handled it well out of the gate. It took a while before. Who was the first player to beat him first player to beat him was right out of the gate. Ed Fiore beat him in the Quad Cities Open, but the first player to beat him in a major coming down the stretch, I think, was the Korean player. He's a Wai Yang. Wai Yang beat him, I think, at Medina, and that was the first pro. The other pro was Bob May, who lost to him in a playoff at the PGA. But every other major, came down the stretch. It didn't matter who the player was. He demoralized them. He beat them all. And, that's why he's, the greatest of all time.
But it wasn't because he was in your face intimidating. It was just by his mere presence and his play.
Well, you got to understand, you have players that are just, they're just efficient. They don't look like, wow, you see him hit balls in the range and you go, I can beat him. And a guy like that would be like a Jim Furyk, funky swing. But you know what? Jim Furyk's one of the best players to ever play on the PGA Tour. And then you have guys that just wow you. Fred Couples wows you. Just the effortless power and just how silky smooth he is and how dominating and long he is. And then Woods comes out and he's got everything. He has no weakness. He hits balls that just, are towering up in the air. Then I was playing with him at Bay Hill when he introduced the Stinger, which was a 3-wood that came out about, 2 feet high off the ground. It was like somebody taking a shotgun and shooting a shotgun off to your knees, and the ball would just go right down the middle. We were playing Bay Hill it was the 13th hole in the first round one year around that time. And he hit this Stinger for the first time. I've never seen a shot like this. Just never left, right middle of the fairway, perfect. And I got a tap on my shoulder, and I turned around. It was my caddy. He said, "You're up." I was just sitting there shaking my head like, oh my gosh, I gotta hit next after seeing that. Oh my gosh. So the intimidation factor of something that, I can't do this. I can't hit this, 5-iron, 220 yards straight up in the air, or hit this drive like that. You have different players that just wow you, and he was the guy that wowed everybody.
Was there a lot of conversation between you and Tiger when you took that walk?
No, there was no. He was all business, and that was something else that was different. Because most of the times, guys in between shots are talking. Hey, how's your family? What's your kids' names? Where you live in, whatever. He was not a person of much conversation at all. He was all focused.
When you got off the course, no.
Never saw him. He was Jay Haas tells a story about Jack Nicklaus that you didn't see Jack in the locker room. You didn't see Jack in the food room. Jack would just appear on the range, hit his balls, go play, maybe hit some balls after on the range, and then he was disappear. And that's what I felt about Woods. Even those times I played with him, I never saw him in the locker room, didn't see him in the, getting something to eat. He would just appear on the range. Then you played with him, or he would be playing ahead of you or behind you. And then you would know he was around because the crowd, there would be a huge crowd. I mean, he changed our sport, and, John Daly changed our sport a little bit when he came out and brought in the, middle class working, not just a rich sport watched by, people from private clubs. He brought in the public golfer in the early 90s. And then Tiger Woods brought in everybody else and just, became Elvis Presley or, a Frank Sinatra of the old day, like everybody from all walks of life, and turned a sport where as you growing up and me growing up, that you would say, who are the greatest athletes in the world? You would go football, basketball, maybe throw in a baseball player, maybe an Olympic, athlete or whatever. Golf would be at the lowest bottom of the totem pole. Like golf and tennis were like neck and neck, at the bottom of the totem pole of being an athlete. Look at golfers, maybe golfers that are out of shape, that not even, they can barely walk 18 holes, and they're pro golfers. You look at them and just laugh at them. Yeah. And then we get this kid shows up and he changes it all. And then everybody wants to play golf. I mean, it's amazing how the transformation of the game amongst celebrities and other athletes and other sports, that what do they do in their free time? They want to go play golf. Yeah. They love the game. And it's, he had a lot to do with that. And then you see the crowds out there following him. So you knew when he was around because the crowds, and, it was just different. So when he played, it was different. And when then he didn't play the next week, it was very quiet. It was like almost two different kind of golf tournaments. It was when Tiger was playing and when Tiger wasn't playing. And it was a big change that the PGA Tour had to endure.
Yeah, for the better, I would say. Prize money went sky high, and sponsorships and
prize money and sponsorships were going up. He just accelerated it to another level in the TV contracts and stuff. We were in negotiations at the time when he came out of college and started dominating. So it was trending in that direction, but he definitely 100% accelerated the purses and the sponsorships and all that. So we all in a way need to thank him for putting our sport on a different level, and it's continued that way, and it's that way today.
What were your thoughts when you heard and saw that he had been in a car accident, and will he be able to come back from those injuries? I'm not privy to the details. Do you know?
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I can't really comment, Morten. I just saw what you saw and just read what everyone has read, and he's pretty banged. He was pretty banged up before this, and then no one's really talked about his back. He just had his 5th back operation in December before Christmas. And then, having a horrific crash like that, you don't know, they're fixing up his leg that was severely damaged. And then, I haven't heard anything about his back. And that's number one. So, at age 46, he's not 26. If he was 26, you'd go, hey, 36 maybe, but 46 if he makes a comeback from this, it's he is godlike.
Would you have ever thought, growing up in Rhode Island, just a couple of blocks away from Brad Faxon, right?
Not far, that two boys from Rhode Island, PGA Tour, and you have played in 40 plus majors, 6 Masters. I mean, that's mind blowing.
to think about for you, isn't it? Don't you pinch yourself once in a while and go, how did that happen?
Yeah, it's it's really hard to describe, to grow up in an area where the weather wasn't very good.
That's
Kind of like Denmark, it's
short season, man.
yeah, we got it all. But Brad was a role model for me. He was, kind of Dana Quigley was a good club pro that was on the tour for a little while, but didn't have any success at the time. But had tremendous success on the Champions Tour when he turned 50. But Brad came out and made it on the tour, and 3 years later, here I come, and so he was a good role model that I looked up to say, okay, if he can do it, I can do this.
Mm-hmm.
And I think why it's a hard thing to answer because we didn't have a lot of time to play. We had summertime, fall a little bit. I played high school basketball in the wintertime to do something. But we had Donald Ross as an architect who built so many golf courses in Rhode Island and Massachusetts. And you learned how to play the game. You learned how to get the ball in the hole because the greens were always small. They were always undulated.
False fronts. You've been
you
Donald Ross.
Yeah. So you have all kinds of, different angles where you have to chip and putt, and because you're only going to hit, 7 and 9 greens a day, and how you going to shoot a good score. So I think his influence in and around Rhode Island had a lot to do with our upbringing of, how do you get the ball in the hole? And then both Brad and I, when we were on the tour, we weren't consistent strikers of the ball. I wasn't a very good driver, neither was he, but he got the ball in the hole as good as anybody I've ever seen. And I wasn't that bad behind him, but that's the game. The game isn't how pretty it looks. It's just get the ball in the hole as quickly as you can. And I think that Ross had a lot to do with that. And we've had a lot of good players. Brett Quigley is played the tour for a long time, and Brett has just recently won on the Champions Tour for his first victory. So, and then others behind him, and it's just amazing what the mind can do. Like if you say this is what I really want to do. When I was 14 years old, I had an 8 handicap, and I said my goal was to get it to scratch, so I can get a scholarship to college. And then I won some major tournaments in high school around the country, and that got me the Arnold Palmer scholarship to Wake Forest. And then once you get to college, then we didn't have a web.com or a Corn Ferry Tour. You had the PGA Tour or nothing. So college golf was very competitive. And if you got good in college, then you're like, okay, maybe I can try this pro thing. I can give it a shot. So there was a lot of great college golf, and then you gave it a shot to make it on the tour. So in college, I did well. We won a national championship my senior year, and I turned pro and gave it a shot, and off I went. It was so in a nutshell, to answer your question, yes, I pinched myself quite a bit. That 5, 8.5, 100, and when I started the tour, I was 156 pounds. I'm about a $175 now, and just amazing that I made it. And then you look at, I can give you a laundry list of players, just like you can in football, a laundry list of players that were so talented that you saw when you were a junior golfer and a college golfer and an amateur golfer, and they never made it as a pro. Yeah. And you sit there and you just shake your head because they were so good. But the amazing thing about golf, Morten, is, at 16 years old, that might be the best you'll ever be. And then there are guys that get a little better. Maybe at 20, that might be the best they'll ever be. And the ones that make it and have long careers, they find ways to be motivated and to continue to try to get better. And the ones that do and figure it out are the ones that have long-lasting careers because they just kept getting better. Some people just don't, and that's just the way it works.
And I think you were able to do that. So maybe the better question is not why, but how. It sounds to me like you were more interested in how.
I think, yeah, I think this is the answer. This is the answer or the question to the answer that I give when a young player, a college kid, says to me, "Yeah, I'm thinking about turning pro. What do I need to do? Or, do you have any advice for me?" And the advice is simple. It's, your mom and dad can think you're good. Your girlfriend can think you're good. Your best friends and all your buddies can think you're good. But if you don't really truly believe that you're good enough, then you might as well quit and go into business and get a job or figure something else out, because you're not going to make it in golf. You're not going to make it on the PGA Tour if you have any doubt whatsoever in your ability to play the game. And you got to have that, mindset that, what, I'm good. I'm going to have a hell of a career. It's going to take a little while. I'm not going to come out and, win right away. It might take a little while, but I can play at this level. And if you believe that and truly believe it and have no doubt about that, then you'll be fine. You're going to make it. But like when Ricky Fowler came out a few years ago, I did a little TV for the Golf Channel, and the first time I met him was at the Walker Cup in Marion. And I met the 10 players, 12 players that played on the Walker Cup team. And he was the one kid that I just knew, like, he believes in himself. You know what? Right now he's going through a tough time. He hasn't played well lately, and everybody's getting on him in the media and stuff. But when he was coming out of college, he had that it factor. And I don't know what it is, but some people have it and some people don't. Yeah. And I knew that he had it, just the way he handled himself, the way he played, that he believed in himself. And you have to have that. If you don't believe in yourself 100%, a guy like, well, I'm going to turn pro, I'm going to give it 3 or 4 years. And if it doesn't work out, I don't know if I'm good enough, maybe I've won a couple college tournaments, but I don't know if I can play with the best. Those guys, usually those guys don't make it. If they do, they don't have much, like you say, they have a cup of coffee on the tour. They played for a couple of years, but they had no impact in the game. But it goes back to, you got to truly believe in yourself. And if you do, you're going to be just fine.
Yeah. I always believed that being process oriented was so important, and to understand that you're in a little egg, almost like you're your own little universe. Kicking was that way, a lot like golf in many ways. You're depending on your caddy in golf. I was depending on my holder, but it was really how I processed everything. And I'm interested to hear your take on when you would go into a tournament versus a major like the Masters. Would your process change? Would it stay the same? But what did you set goals for yourself? Like, I want to make the cut. That would be like your goal, or like, where was your head at? Take me inside your head before tournament. And what were your goals that you had kind of internal that you may not have said to anybody, but your caddy was aware of it, and this is what we want to accomplish?
I first and foremost, it's the way I looked at it was that I was going, now golf is an individual sport. I'm not competing against you, though I want to beat you, but I can't control you. I got to only control myself. So I always felt like I was going out with two of me. It's just, here I go, and then my conscience next to me. And if I cannot beat myself up, and if I can just let myself go play, and then I'm going to be fine. Because all I want to do is not beat myself. I want to beat these other players, but I can't control what they do. I can only control what I do. So that was first and foremost, that, okay, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to free it up. I'm not going to get all wrapped up in that, I can't hit this shot or whatever, or I'm uncomfortable. You want to be decisive and you want to be free. I think the guys that play free golf, it doesn't matter what level you're at. You can be a 20 handicap golfer, but if you go out there and you don't fear like, hitting a house or hitting it out of bounds and just get up there and I'm just going to hit it down the fairway. If you do that freely, you can have a better chance of hitting nice shots versus hitting bad ones. So it was just that whole mental side of, I'm going to go out there and just let myself go, just get into the process of just one shot at a time. And then, and here comes my conscience to my right, and just not letting myself beat myself up. That was number one. As far as setting goals, I set goals at the beginning of the year. I want to make the Ryder Cup team. I want to be in the top 30. I want to, everybody does that. But what happens when you don't reach those goals? You're going to beat yourself up over that. So I was never big on, this whole goal thing of, I want to win 5 times. Well, hell yeah, everybody wants to win 5 times a year.
Yeah.
That'd be nice. But what happens if you don't? You have to keep a positive attitude. So, and then going into a tournament, I never once thought about my goal is to make the cut. I went into every tournament. My goal is to get in the mix on Sunday with 9 holes to go. And my problem always seemed to be my focus I wasn't as focused on Thursday morning at 8 o'clock with 3 people following me versus Sunday afternoon with 50,000, 100,000 people at the golf course, and everybody's, on top of every tee, and you can feel that energy from the crowd. That I had no problem with that. My problem was when there was nobody there on Thursday morning and I'm going out to try to, shoot that first round, a good round in that first round, and not get sloppy. So my focus wasn't as good early, and that kind of hurt me in my career, that I'd never, I wasn't focused enough early. But once I got focused on, the energy of the crowd or being in the mix on the weekend, I never backed down much. I always, the tournaments I won, I was right there and played great final rounds. I had a lot of good finishes in tournaments where it seemed like, once I got this, once I got to that Sunday and I had a chance, I was pretty good. But it was getting to that Sunday that was much more difficult. But I never went into a tournament saying, hey, I got to make, all I want to do is make this cut. No, I want to have a chance to win, and then if you miss a few cuts in a row, you go to that next tournament and you can't wait. It's like, once that Friday's over, you can't wait till the next week to start, because you start fresh again and say, you know what, this is going to be my week, and that's the attitude and that's the mindset you have to have if you want to have a long career and you want to be relevant on the tour. You got to think that every tournament you teeing it up in, it's going to be your week. You know what? So-and-so won last week. You know what? This week, though I haven't played well, I'm going to turn things around. It's going to be my week. And that's the attitude and mindset that I've always had.
I love that. And then, what you're saying about getting off to a good start is more difficult sometimes. I can relate to that, because I always felt I did better in the fourth quarter when the chips were on the line, when the game
Right.
winner was there, when we're down by 2 and they got to have a field goal. There's
Right.
no score with 4 minutes left in the first quarter. It's
score.
hard to get my pulse up, but
Right.
but you got to go out and deliver. And
you get that super focus. You know what's on the line, and some people can some people relish in it and love it.
Yeah.
And then and others don't. Others are, you look at stats and see, a kicker who's 20 for 20 in the first quarter, and then he gets to the when you got to do it to win a game, and then he has a hard time. That's total mindset. That's total getting in your own way.
Yep.
That's total fearing it instead of accepting it.
Yeah, and embracing it.
Yeah.
Really, just embracing it sometimes is all you got to do. It is what it is, and I always felt like you were a feel guy. You were not a methodical guy. You're a feel guy, and I think that has served you well in a big tournament like the Masters. And you played 6 of them. The first Masters you play, it comes down to Seve Ballesteros and Greg Norman, a great battle there. And then your last Masters, Tiger Woods wins for the second time. So those are bookends to 6 Masters experiences. I want to talk to you. I want you to explain to me why the Masters is so special, What sets it apart? And what is it like to play in a Masters tournament?
Well,
That's a 30-minute question, I know, but
that's a great question. I played in the Masters that I played, and my biggest regret is I didn't get a chance to play it year after year after year. And it's a golf course that the more you play it, the easier it gets, because you learn all the nuances of it. You learn all the which way the breaks go. So in my career, of all the majors, that's the one I played the least. You know, I played over 20 PGAs. I played over, I think I played 15, 16 British Opens, and I, played a bunch of US Opens, but the Masters was one because you have to qualify or win to get in and whatever. I didn't have that every year of getting going there in April and settling in. And then the other thing, I wasn't a big hooker of the golf ball. So I never felt comfortable. Lee Trevino talked about, he was a cutter of the ball, and he never felt comfortable at Augusta on some of the tees. And I kind of felt the same way, that, you before the tournament, you're always trying to hit hooks. And I always got in trouble trying to hit hooks, but I'm not making excuses. It was for me, a very hard golf course, not easy, but I played in 3 different decades. So I played in the 80s, the 90s, and the 2000s. My first Masters was my best because I was in college, and I stayed up in the Crow's Nest. I played a practice round with Fuzzy Zeller and Hubert Green on Monday, Jack Nicklaus on Tuesday.
Oh, wow.
I played with Jay Haas and Bob Golby in the par 3 tournament on Wednesday. In the first round, I got paired with Arnold Palmer.
Oh, come on. Talk to me about Arnold Palmer and what that was like.
I mean, it was unbelievable. He kind of requested, I was told that he requested Phil Harrison, who was the starter on the first tee. I went to his house for dinner. I went to his house for dinner on Monday night, and he had Byron Nelson there and his wife.
Wow.
So, I mean, it was just this dream week. And I got, I'm playing with the king the first day. I remember I got to the tee, like, when you're a veteran, or when you don't get to the tee when the group ahead of you is on the tee.
No.
And you got 10 more minutes.
But you're there 30 minutes before. I'm ready.
Morten, I get to the tee. I walk up to the tee, and the group ahead, the second guy just hits. So I get there I'm too early, and I haven't seen Arnold yet. So I'm like looking around, and I see this old woman behind the first tee, and she's got this long cardigan sweater on, and it goes down to her knees because it was a little nippy, and she's got badges all from down from her feet on the sweater all the way up to on her arms. Like, she's been to every single Masters. I'm saying these are the tickets, and I'm seeing 57, 59, and I looked at her and I went, oh my gosh, boy, it looks like you've been to like every Masters. And this lady looks at me and she goes, you know what? I can tell by the look on your face, it's your first one. So I was like, I'm there, I'm waiting. And then all of a sudden, coming out of the locker room near the big tree, there was like this, like the parting of the sea. And here comes Arnold out of the locker room. So he must have hit balls and then maybe putted early, then went to hit balls. Then he maybe went in the locker room to go to the bathroom, and then he's walking to the first tee. And the crowd was like a parting of the sea. And I didn't see Arnold walk to the tee. My vision in my head was he glided to the tee and just came up, and he gave me a big hug, and, I'm really looking forward to this. His knee was not right. He had a bad bum knee. He was 53 years old. I was 22. And he didn't have a good day, but he got a standing ovation on every green. He shot 83. I shot 74. And it was just,
a lot of conversation with Arnold.
Oh yeah, conversation every hole. He was. We became very close. You know, I kind of felt like he was like a second grandfather to me. You know, we became very close. He came up to Rhode Island, he's played in our charity event 3 times and played with me. When I would play in, you know, in Orlando at Disney in the fall, I'd go over to Bay Hill and see him. So we had this great relationship, and it all stemmed from Wake Forest University, you know, right here at Wake Forest. And, you know, he started the golf program there with Coach Jesse Haddock. And I was just one of his boys. And if you're in that fraternity, you know, here I am, I'm a 22-year-old amateur playing in the Masters for the first time. And Arnold Palmer wants to play the first round with me. That's pretty cool.
That doesn't get much better, brother.
No. And then I played with TC Chen the second day. I shot 34 on the front 9. So I was even par going to 10. And all of a sudden, CBS had a camera on me in the fairway. And that was the first time I ever a camera on me, you know, right from behind me. And I hit it in the right bunker. I chunked it out and I 3-putted for double. And I ended up shooting 41 on the back to miss the cut by a shot.
Oh.
So it started off as a dream week. Right. And it ended up, you know, I ended up missing the cut. But you know what? So many great memories. It made me feel that I could play with these guys. You know, I played a few pro tournaments at that time, but it made me feel that, you know what, I like this stage. I can handle this. Mm-hmm. You know, I turned pro. I played on the Walker Cup team in May at Sunningdale. And I turned pro after that and went through Q school in 87 and finished 9th and got on the PGA Tour in 88. So, but playing in the Masters, playing on a Walker Cup team, you know, winning a national championship in college, winning amateur tournaments, you know, the North and South, the Sunny Hannah Amateur. Those are the stepping stones that every golfer does that not everyone, but most do to get to get on the tour and to, you know, the guys that win all those kind of tournaments usually have pretty good careers on the PGA Tour because they've proved they've done it in junior golf at a national level, or now it's the world, doing it in college and amateur, and then off to the pros you go. But you also asked about Augusta, what it's like. It's, you know, it's a little different today, I believe, than it was back in the 80s, where, and it has something to do with, I think, maintenance. Golf course maintenance has changed in the last 30, 40 years, where, you know, in those days, when you got to Augusta, you never putted on greens that fast, that immaculate, not a blade of grass out of place, the beauty of it. And then since then, you know, with great architects like Nicholas and Fazio, you know, now you go to some of these high-end, beautiful golf courses, and they're in unbelievable shape, just like Augusta was when the first time I went down there to play. And so that's changed a little bit, but just the tradition of a tournament that you watched as a kid, and to see it, it's the same place every year. I remember when Tom Cousins bought Eastlake, and he revitalized the area, and he got the golf course back in unbelievable shape and got the tour championship. His goal was that, you know, he wanted to have that tradition of, you go to the same course every year, and it builds up the memories. And that's what Augusta in the Masters has. You know, it's the same course. It's the only major that you go to the same course every year. And then we have the 5th major is the Players Championship. And that's getting that same momentum of, this is a big event because you're playing it at the same course. Yeah. So you know the course. You know, now in this day and age, you have video. You know, you have a video game where you can play Augusta National. But back in those days, it was very exclusive. You couldn't get on. It was very hard to get a practice round ticket to see what it's like. So the ambiance, the being so private and not being able to see it except for television, then you get there and you can't believe like the difference. Like, oh my gosh, it's so hilly. Oh, you're going up and down and around, and the greens are much bigger than they look on TV. They're huge, and they got so much undulation and break. And then you get down to Amen Corner, and you can kind of feel it's like kind of being in church, and how quiet it is, especially in the tournament. It's just, I mean, you can hear your heart pounding when you're on the 12th green because there's nobody over there over Rays Creek. It's just you and the other and your caddy and the other player and his caddy. It's like it's just a it's just a church-like atmosphere when you're back in there. But it's just a place where all the history, and you as an American player, not every player, but especially an American player, you really would love to play well and win that tournament, because you get to go back. You get to go back every year. You get to play it every year. That's what's I'm 57 now, Morten, and the Masters comes around, and I've been playing the Champions Tour for 8 years, and Larry Mize goes every year, and Bernhard goes every year, and Freddie goes every year. It's like a little bit of you is just jealous of them, because they've been doing this forever. They've been going for 30 years to the same tournament, and they have their club and their Tuesday night champions only dinner. And I mean, to be in that group is very, very special, very special. And it's just a special place.
Yeah, it's kind of like the Pro Football Hall of Fame, maybe, in a way.
Yeah, I would say that's a very good analogy. If you're in, it's unbelievable. If you're not in, you kind of wish you maybe played a little better.
Hey, but so in your estimation, where's the Masters won or lost? Is it Amon's Corner, or is it just you got to be consistent the whole 4 rounds? Obviously, but I always get the feeling that people that don't play Amon's Corner well at any given time, they lose that golf tournament if they're in the lead.
Yeah, I just think the guy that wins there is the one that has the least amount of 3 putts. That's one. Yeah. It's not that you have to drive it perfect, but the back 9, it's won or lost because there's so many risk reward shots. This past year, Dustin Johnson, who never was really known for his wedge play and his short wedge play, hit a 50-yard wedge on the 3rd hole and made birdie. And then on the back 9, he had 2 wedges on 13 and 15. A guy that long, you would think, would be able to go for it in 2, but he didn't drive it well. He laid up and he made birdie on both those holes. And that was the biggest reason why he won the tournament, was that he got those balls up and down. But, over the years, you've seen it. 11 can bite you. 12 is brutal, especially on Sunday with that back right hole location. Then you got 13 and 15 to handle. And then you get to 16. Corey Pavin had a great chance back in the day and, hit a ball in the water. Norman was bleeding that year that he lost to Faldo, but he still hit it in the water on 16. So you have those holes, and then you come up the last 2, which used to be fairly short and, not that difficult. And now with the new tees that they put in, those 2 holes are brutal, and they're not easy. So you can make a couple bogeys coming in like Kenny Perry did the year that he had a chance to win. He was right there maybe with a 1-shot lead, and he bogeyed 17 and 18 to lose the tournament. So, anything can happen on that back 9. The amazing thing about that place is the echoes and the roars from the crowd. And when you're playing and you hear that, something's going on. And sometimes you don't hear that at other tournaments, but it's an amazing place. It's a heck of a tournament. It's so much fun as a fan to watch it on TV, because you don't have to walk up and down those holes. And the CBS just does such a great job of showcasing that event.
Yeah, Jim Nance is amazing. Then had the whole team there. It was so weird to me to watch the Masters. in the fall for the first time ever with no spectators. Bizarre.
Right.
How is it for you? And let's talk about the current Masters coming up as well, and who you see as some of your favorites. Is it Dustin Johnson to repeat? But first, let me get your feelings about this past fall tournament. That was bizarre.
Yeah, it was. It was different. You didn't have any fans. It was the same way on our Champions Tour when we came back in August, and the PGA Tour. Talking to the PGA Tour players, same thing when they came back last June. With no fans, but then there's no grandstands. That's the other thing. So you're playing those last 9 holes, and some of the golf courses you have grandstands behind the 16th hole, 17th hole, 18th hole, and now those are all gone. So it's just weird not seeing that. And then you have to be self-motivated. You have to have some, like a little noise in your ear that gives you a clap every time you hit a good shot, because it was just so quiet. Nobody's clapping. Maybe your caddy might give you a clap, but that's about it. But watching the Masters, the golf course was a little different because they overseeded. So it was a softer course. So these guys that hit it, they all hit it so far. They can just, throw darts at these hole locations. And, the scoring was very, very good. I think that will change depending on the weather. That will change at this year's Masters in April. They will try to get the place as firm and fast as they can, because firm and fast, Morten, is where the scoring gets much more difficult. And then the weather. If you can get some volatility with some wind, it's like the Players Championship moved to May for a while, and there was no wind. It was just nothing. And then moving it back to March, when we used to play it, you always had some sort of tropical issues in Florida in March, and it was always a little dicey, especially on some of those holes. But at the Masters in April, it's a different golf course. Usually it's firmer and faster. And as far as players go, there's so many great young players today.
Let me give you a list, and you tell me who you like.
There's so many good ones. So many.
Dustin Johnson, Bryson De Chambeau, Justin Thomas, Brooks Koepka, Rory McIlroy, Jordan Spieth, and then you can add Morikawa or any of the younger guys.
Yeah, no,
right.
It's just crazy. They're all world-class players. They all have no weaknesses. They all drive it so well. That's what's so cool about the game. It's like I'm really glad that I'm 57 and I've been through this process, that I don't have to start like these kids in college that trying to make it on the tour, because the competition is so amazing and these players are all so good. The young players like Morikawa, who won the PGA, he won it with no crowd. So the young kids that played well during the pandemic, they play like they were in college, playing college golf with nobody there. And it's a different animal. And a few players mentioned it. I think Jason Day said something, and I think Rory McIlroy said something about it. Like, it's one thing to win a major with 50,000 people out there yelling and screaming, and then how do you handle it internally to calm yourself down, to be ready to go to at 20, 21. And taking nothing away from Colin, taking nothing away from, Matthew Wolfson and the Victor Hovlands and all these young kids that have just turned pro that have been dominating. When you get to a major and you have crowds and you have the atmosphere, it's different. It's just different, and it's harder to win. And you would always take a guy maybe who's been in that situation before than a young player. But all the players you've mentioned all can win. Right now, De Chambeau has been getting a lot of publicity for his great play of late and his length. So I would say that at this moment, he's one of the odds-on favorites. I don't know. I'm not a Vegas guy to look at the odds, but if I was, I would say he's probably up there along with Dustin and a few of the others. And, hopefully Koepka can come back. I know he hurt his knee again, which brings us to an interesting topic. When I got on the tour in the late 80s, a guy might have a bad back, but maybe your shoulder hurts a little bit, but now you got labrum tears, knee issues. You got guys that all kinds of problems. It's like, Morten, this isn't football. You're not getting hit. You're not getting hit on a weekly basis. What are these guys doing that they're going in these gyms and they're working with these trainers and they're breaking down like, bicep injuries, you got a rib injury or whatever, or oblique strain. Those are things that was talked about back in the day.
What's an oblique?
I don't know.
In years.
I don't know what that is. It's like, I wasn't even in aisle 5. I don't know what the heck that is. I'm like, seriously.
Right next to the beer, man. That's where you get the bag of oblique.
There it is. That's when you pick it up and you hurt your oblique. But it's just amazing how, these guys are, getting hurt, and it's the fact that they're swinging at it as hard as they can. They're swinging at it, out of their shoes, and then they're working out hard. And they're, a lot of them are breaking down. But if Koepka can be on form, he's very, very dominant as well. But I think the tour,
right. And guys are getting hurt, and Bryson is. I mean, here's a glaring example of a guy, Bryson De Chambeau, who has changed his whole physical, the way he is. He's added 40 pounds, whatever, 50 pounds, and now he's banging at 379 yards. I mean, how has he changed the game? And is it good?
Something's got to give with that. I don't know, what the longevity aspect of how long his body can hold up.
Yeah.
We're just going to have to wait and see. But Tiger Woods' body broke down, and I never thought it would, because I didn't think that happened in golf. And then all of a sudden, he was swinging so hard, and that lower back's going, and your legs are going, and hips are going, and he broke down. So whether or not you can, all I know is when I go see the doctor, he wants to know, how's my cholesterol, how's my weight, how you feeling, go to the heart doctor, and his same thing, and
blood
then you
pressure.
get this, yep,
blood pressure,
and then you get and then you get this, this De Chambeau who's he's gained 40, 50 pounds. He says he's eating a dozen eggs a day and, 3 cows. And, so I don't know what's going to break down, if it's going to be his heart, cholesterol, or, his shoulders or whatever. But
maybe he's a robot from a foreign, from a foreign land.
He's changing the game a little bit. That's for sure. But the thing that I think it needs to be talked about, just the thing that just kind of strikes me funny, is that the PGA Tour, at the Players Championship, came out and said, okay, we're gonna make number 9 on 18 out of bounds, because De Chambeau was saying he was going to think about cutting the corner and going over to the 9th hole, because it's a better angle in to the 18th hole at Sawgrass. And the night before the tournament, the PGA Tour rules official said that that's out of bounds. So they made a local rule that hole was out of bounds if you went left, which brings me to a great point, which is, it's 2021, and the PGA Tour, the Champions Tour, and the Korn Ferry, and all the tours under the PGA Tour umbrella, all the rules, we go by the USGA and the R&A. That's where we go. We don't have our own rules. The NFL has their own rules versus college football. Pro basketball is different than college basketball, but the PGA Tour, we're under the umbrella of rules made by amateur golfers. And in this is a perfect situation where, okay, we said we're going to throw this local rule in that, boom, you know what, you can't hit it left on that hole, so that's a local rule. So it brings to the point of, why can't we make our own rules? So if it's the way De Chambeau putts, you know what, there's a big debate on what that's like anchoring, and he's just got it locked in there below the elbow, and he sits there and he rocks his shoulders. Is that any different than a guy that's up here, rocking his shoulders and anchoring here. Could we make a local rule on our tour that the shortest club in the bag has to be a putter, or the longest club in the bag can't be more than 47 inches, or whatever we want to make as professional golf, not for amateurs, juniors, college. This is just for our tour and our, in pro golf. This is what we're doing. And it's just amazing to me that, in 2021 that we don't make up our own, we don't have our own rules that we should have, and we should be able to dictate how we want to play instead of going by, the USGA and the RNA, which changes rules every 4 years. So a new rules change is going to be coming up, and it'll be interesting to see. But the last rules changes some of them were just crazy ridiculous. Like, you can ground your club in a hazard. If you double hit your ball, it doesn't count as 2 strokes. It's just 1 stroke. There's so many funny, you can tap down every spike mark. That never was a rule. If you had a spike mark in front of you, tough crap, you got to just figure it out. You got to try to bounce it off the spike. Yeah, stick it up. You go, oh, I got to hit this off the left side of that, that spike mark. Now you can tap down anything you want. So there's all these different new rules, and it's just interesting. And it's a conversation we could have for hours.
It's fascinating. It really is fascinating to hear your take on this. I never thought about some of those things. I was not aware about that rule change, the local rule change for this for this tournament a couple weeks ago. So very interesting. Hey, Billy, I want to end with a couple of quick questions. Doesn't have to be long answers.
Okay.
You've been great, man. Thank you for your insight. Great insight, man.
Oh no, this is great. I really appreciate you having me.
Oh yeah, and I love golf so much. I'm not very good at it, but it's a really good walk spoiled, man, and it's it's a great book, by the way.
I think I was in that book. Was I in that book?
You might be.
I think I am.
I'll double check.
Okay.
Hey, favorite non-golf pro to golf with? Who have you really enjoyed golfing with that's not a pro, but that you said, well, that was a really fun celebrity? And do you have a good story?
Well, I got a great story from today. I woke up this morning and had a message from Bill Murray. And it was just, hey, Billy, just checking in. I'm not in the country, but I'm coming back to Florida. Just seeing how you were doing. So I called him back, and he's in Puerto Rico with his son. He's coming back to Florida this coming week. But he was just kind of checking in to say hi, which he doesn't do it a lot, but every now and then I get a phone call from him. But that was just crazy. And that was this morning. Anyway, I've just had a long lasting, wonderful relationship with Sandy Koufax, who I met when I was in college. And, we try to chat, once every couple months. I check in with him and his wife, Jane. And, he's been a dear, dear friend, along with there's so many great friends, just like you. We hit it off right away. And I just love being around you. I love your positive energy. You come across so great. And, in my life, especially at this age, I want to hang out with people like you, with people like Sandy Koufax. I want to hang out with people that have that great energy, that are positive, and people that are negative. I really don't want to spend 5 seconds with. I don't have much time. We don't have that much time left on this wonderful place we call Earth. But if I have the time I have left, I want to spend it with great, fun people that enjoy life and that are very, very positive.
Amen to that, Billy. I think that's a really nice place to stop. We've covered a lot, man, and it's like I said, it's very insightful, very refreshing to hear your transparent takes on everything and your inside knowledge on the game. There's so much in golf. There's so much to digest. There's so much to talk about. I mean, it would be a series of shows to cover it all. But
Absolutely.
suffice it to say that this kid from Rhode Island has done well, man, and you're doing it the right way. You know, you're paying it forward. You not only have a beautiful swing and you're fun to watch, and I'll be watching you play the Champions Tour moving forward. Obviously, great success there. But what you do off the golf course, to me, is much more important, really. The way you affect the younger generation, the way you affect the people you're around. It's special. You're a special human being. You're a giving person, and you're fun. You know, and I know that we're going to hang a lot more. There's no question.
That's great. I really appreciate it. My only last question to you is who's the guy behind you in that with that long hair? Like, is that
that's the mullet? That's my Hall of Fame bust.
Is that we got to talk to the barber that cut that hair back then?
Isn't
Was
it
that
in the
back?
front, baby, and party in the back?
I like it. I like the way it is now. I don't like that.
Hey,
That's.
by the way, speaking of hair, take a look in the mirror and see if you're proud of that look right now.
No, I know it's a mess. I know. My parents are not happy with me right now. They're up in Rhode Island, and when they see me, they're like, "Will you please get a haircut?" So that's my goal this week, to get that done.
All right, go get it done, brother.
Thank you so much for having
Thanks,
me.
man. I love you. I'll see you soon.
Too.
See you soon.
Keep in touch. Keep in touch.
Bye.